A vehicle transports an orc criminal to a massive fortified prison. In a frozen wilderness, the poet Edgen and the barbarian Holga, his cellmates, are introduced to him. After that, the orc tries to make a pass at Holga, despite Edgen's gentle warnings to be more respectful. In response, Holga breaks his knees and slams his face. The Absolution Council hears an appeal for the pardon of Edgen and Holga. The following day, Edgen starts off by outlining his background, to provide context for their location. Edgen once belonged to the Harper's faction, a team of spies that performed heroic battles against evil. By day, he would listen in on mercenaries, apprehend robbers, and prosecute Thayan Red Wizards. He would return to his wife Zia and their daughter Kira at night. They were destitute, but Zia didn't mind, because she believed Edgen was improving the world. Edgen once returned home, to discover Red Wizards riding away. As she was near death, Zia told him she had hidden Kira in the wall. When he hurried inside and found her, Edgen's adherence to the pledge passed away. On that day as well, Edgen struggled to raise Kira by himself, and continued to frequent the tavern to imbibe, until he ran upon Holga, a woman exiled from her tribe for falling in love with an outsider. Holga felt sorry for the infant, and agreed to assist Edgen in raising her, but they never got romantically involved. Instead, their relationship was built on respect for one another. They made an effort to live morally, but it became increasingly difficult to scrape by, so Edgen and Holga turned to theft. When they came across a necklace that allowed you to become invisible, they began off by robbing jewelry stores, and gave it to an older Kira so she could stay safe. As Kira began to accompany them to the robberies, they gradually added other team members like the sorcerer Simon, and the renegade Forge. They still adhered to their standards of never harming others, and only robbing the wealthy, but this allowed them to find more valuables. Things changed when they encountered a magician by the name of Sophina, who asked for their assistance in robbing the wealthy Harper stronghold Karen's Keep. Edgen first resisted, but Forge persuaded him when he explained that the keep held the Tablet of Reawakening, which he might use to resurrect Zia. Edgen instructed Kira to stay at home, because this location was more dangerous than normal, disregarding her requests for him to stay home. If the threat was that great, just in case the strategy didn't work, he kept the tablet's existence a secret from her. Sophina quickly seized an odd glowing horn. When the group easily entered Karen's Keep, when Edgen attempted to take the tablet, a trap was set up, bringing all of the guards into view. In violation of the rules, Sophina takes out all the guards, before employing a time-stopping spell to trap Holga and Edgen. Edgen throws the tablet at Forge, and begs him to protect Kira before the others flee. The final council member, a creature resembling a bird, eventually arrives as Edgen wraps off the narrative. Without thinking twice, Edgen and Holga rush on the monster to smash the window, and use its wings to safely escape. They do this despite the council being prepared to grant them a pardon. The pair, who are now free, discover their house is deserted when they return home. They travel to the tavern to talk about how to find Kira after getting Edgen's loot, where they discover that Forge is now the Lord of Neverwinter owing to a flyer. They arrive at Neverwinter, which is getting ready for the yearly heist and games. After a lengthy ride, they reunite with Kira at the Lord's palace, who is more thrilled to meet Holga than her own father, because she believes Edgen abandoned her for his own selfish reasons. When they rejoin, Forge tells them how he became the Lord of Neverwinter, by using the treasures taken from Karen's Keep, and how Sophina is assisting him as his advisor. Then, Edgen discovers that Forge has been telling Kira that he was detained for stealing money rather than the Tablet of Reawakening, and to make matters worse, there are wanted posters for their heads that show they weren't simply freed legitimately. Kira leaves the room upset at having been misled, and Forge declares he won't give them either Kira or the tablet. When Edgen and Holga try to attack Forge, Sophina uses her magic to imprison them on the ground, exposing their collaboration to betray the rest of the gang. During their previous heist, in spite of Forge's instructions to execute the pair, Sophina secretly alters them to imprisonment. The two are led into an alley, where they would be executed, but Holga picks up a floor tile, and uses it to fend off the soldiers. Her savage abilities make she has an easy time of it, and soon all the males are out cold. She then takes an axe from them and leaves with Edgen. Forge informs Kira that Holga and Edgen once more abandoned her. After obtaining the tablet, moments later, Holga and Edgen decide they need to form a team in order to rescue Kira and the tablet from Forge. They start by looking for Simon, who is amusing himself by doing ridiculous magic tricks. However, Simon is actually using these feats as a distraction, while he performs a spell to steal the gold and other valuables from the crowd. Simon is shocked when he runs into several of his former friends. The audience realizes the trap when he breaks the spell. They attempt to attack Simon in a rage, but he uses magic to defend himself. He's not a very skilled sorcerer, though, and his spells frequently fail. First, he raises the people to the ceiling, then he finds himself flying out the window. Fortunately, Holga is waiting outside to capture him. Simon offers to assist as the group flees, but he emphasizes that his magic won't be able to stop Sophina. They will require a druid to enter. and Simon is familiar with one. When the group eventually arrives, a druid is ready to be slain. A horse suddenly loses control and turns into an owlbear, indicating that she is Simon's friend. Before assuming Doric's regular shape, and fleeing on a real horse, the beast easily defeats all the soldiers, and saves the other girl. The group subsequently encounters Doric in her residence, in the elf forests, and learns that she has little faith in people, because her own family rejected her. Because she is a tiefling, she does nonetheless agree to help because she despises Forge, even more for killing her people and destroying the forest. Sophina converses with her lord, the Lich Shaz-Tam, while in her private chambers, and confesses that she is a wicked red wizard. He gives her the responsibility for carrying out their grand scheme, for which Sophina has been coercing Forge to revive the games. Sophina then goes with Forge, as he meets with other lords, to discuss the heist and games plans. The wager's winnings will be stored in a vault, in the castle, and nobody will be able to open it, because it is guarded by an old seal. Sophina notices a presence suddenly and points at a bug, which is actually Doric utilizing her shape-shifting skills to spy. The soldiers pursue her right away, but Doric transforms into several animals to flee, first becoming a mouse that slips through the cracks, and then a bird that flies out of the castle. She collides with a flag, while evading arrows, but she lands as a cat and transforms into a deer to move faster and avoid Sophina's strikes. Later, Doric informs the gang of Sophina's malevolent nature, and the vault seal, without the helmet of disjunction, which is rumored to have vanished long ago. Simon is unable to breach such a seal. Holga claims that her people battled the cult of the dragon, suggesting that they may be aware of its whereabouts. In the meantime, Sophina employs an assassin to find the squad, and gives him orders to kill all the security personnel, who allowed Doric to flee. Later, the group makes a pit stop at Holga's former residence, so that she can gather some items, including her walking stick. Holga is devastated to learn that her ex-husband has started a new relationship with a barbarian lady, but he is still cordial with her, and I wish her well. The team comes at a graveyard full of ancient Evermore's combatants. In the twilight, the bodies can only survive thanks to Simon's powers for up to 5 questions. As the squad starts digging, each body gives them a brief account of the conflict they were killed in, usually claiming that someone else stole their helmet. They discover, after looking through numerous bodies, that Zenk received the helmet from Tai, the origin of the Red Wizards. Since they killed Zia, Ejin doesn't trust Thayans, but the others persuade him to enlist their aid, by telling him about Zenk's experiences as a paladin. A few days later, the group discovers Zenk doing yet another act of bravery. He uses his goodness to placate a sea creature, and save the infant that it had swallowed. When they meet with him, they inform him about Sophina, and Zenk then goes into great detail about the background of the Red Wizards. Shaz-Tam had cast a spell that swallowed the souls of everyone who saw it, binding them to its desire. Using the horn they had stolen to launch an unspeakable coup, Shaz-Tam captured Tai, with the aid of this army of the undead. But since his powers currently cannot traverse boundaries, Zenk believes Sophina is attempting to aid him in growing his domain. When Ejin promises to share Forge's wealth with the residents of Neverwinter, Zenk will grant the squad the helmet. The helmet is then located in the bowels of the Underdark, where the crew next goes. When Zenk is walking through the woods, he talks about how he saw how Shaz-Tam's wicked power turned decent people into slaves to evil. As a result, he decided to leave the Red Wizard's way, and utilize his abilities for good instead. Zenk has a mark on his forehead, because he narrowly avoided being under the Red Wizard's spell. The assassin hired to kill Sophina is still sneakily following them. To get to the Underdark metropolis, the gang descends a hole in the trees, because these monsters primarily prey on intelligent individuals. The squad is ignored by the numerous Rocknans in the area. They then have to traverse a chasm. On a trap-filled dwarven bridge, Simon becomes sidetracked and unintentionally activates a device that brings down the bridge, even though Zenk is aware of how to avoid them. Simon at last sees the walking staff Holga took from a wizard years ago. As she searches her purse for some rope, it turns out to be a hither-thither staff, which can open portals 500 yards away. After safely navigating the abyss, the crew arrives at a statue that Zenk triggers to release the helmet. They are suddenly ambushed by Sophina's killers. At that same moment, before engaging the commander in hand-to-hand combat, while wielding his bright blade against the foe's blazing one, Zenk uses his remarkable skills to dispatch the minions in a flash. Even if Zenk beats him, the Thayans simply keep resurfacing, since they are undead. When the group tries to flee, they find that their path has been blocked by a very fat dragon. The dragon then pursues the group and eats the Thayans. The squad must flee while escaping falling rubble. As the dragon wreaks havoc all around them, the dragon tilts the platform down and sends edging towards its jaws. After Simon activates a gateway and sends them there, fortunately, Zenk intervenes and kills the dragon with a headshot. Unfortunately, the dragon is still alive and pursues the group until they are stranded in a tiny saltwater-filled tunnel. This gives Ejin an idea. They conceal themselves below, and he provokes the dragon until it breathes electricity. Simon then uses a flame to generate an explosion that blows out the tunnel, allowing the group to escape by swimming. Zenk arrives at the coast, waves goodbye to the others, and departs for his house. When Simon tries to take control of the helmet, he encounters his ancestor, who has reservations about his talents, and won't let him attune with the device. Simon tries for hours but is consistently turned down, which lowers the team's spirits. Edgen ultimately confides in Simon and Doric. When they express a desire to depart, he admits he has failed everyone, but also explains why he can't stop right away. The Red Wizards killed his wife, because he stole from them. After growing weary of working pro gratis, the group is moved by this, and resolves to reunite with him. After that, Holga devises a scheme to enter the castle, using the staff rather than the helmet. They start by purchasing a framed painting, beneath which they conceal a doorway. When a carriage carrying Forge's valuables passes by, Edgen hides below a pile of leaves on the road, and waits to attach the painting to it. Simon activates a nearby portal, and Holga pulls the carriage's wood through it so that Doric may enter and bring the picture inside. Simon nearly falls out of the picture during the process, but Doric lifts him up using her tail as leverage. They reclose the carriage using the portal after that, and Doric replaces the canvas before fleeing by changing into a bug. The gang eventually arrives in Neverwinter, in time for the heist games to begin, which feature 5 groups competing in extremely risky challenges. Forge welcomes everyone to the event, and tells them that there will be gifts for everyone. After the games are over, when the team opens a portal in private, they find they can't use it, since the guards put the artwork in with the other treasures, but it falls to the ground. Edgen encourages Simon by pointing out that he performs best under pressure, and that he should try the helmet once again, while Doric starts attempting to cut a hole for a bug to pass through. Then, in an attempt to diverting the castle guards, Simon constructs the illusion of a singing Edgen. However, as Simon's foot becomes trapped, the illusion begins to fall apart, prompting the guards to pursue them. Holga stays behind to battle the guards with her axe, and anything else she can find in the chamber, quickly knocking them all out, while Edgen and Simon rush inside. When Simon gets to the locked door and dons the helmet, he runs into his ancestor once more, who continues to berate him. This time, Simon hits his ancestor out of rage, because something else is more important than his own pride, which enables him to attune with the helmet, and open the vault. He eliminates more guards, with the help of his newly found self-confidence. He then enters the vault, with Holga only to discover that it is empty. Doric, meantime, successfully creates the hole, and enters in the shape of a worm. Discovering all the treasures tucked away beneath the arena, guards appear to be escorting them to a ship, indicating Forge's objective is to flee with the entire wager, and that he is unaware of Sofina's true motivations. While magical tentacles that emerge from the floor take Holga and Simon, a guard finds Doric and knocks her out. In order to apologize to Kira for being a bad father, Edgen creeps through the hallways and locates her, but it turns out that Sofina was just creating an illusion, and she also captured him with her tentacle magic. When Forge arrives, he intends to have them all put to death, but Edgen persuades him to let them take part in the games, so they might pass away honorably. A little while later, the group is in the Colosseum with Simon and Doric wearing bracelets that inhibit their power. The crew finds itself frantically rushing around. After entering the first event, a maze packed with enemies, all of the teams are pursued by the monsters, who employ cunning techniques, like cornering a dwarf with an illusion. Doric discovers a weapon in a chest, but when Holga unlocks another one, she discovers a mimic that catches her leg with its mouth. Fortunately, Doric interrupts it just in time. While Sofina is in power, Edgen prepares to flee in his boat with Kira. Doric trips and gets her hand stuck in a gelatinous cube back in the maze. Although Holga assists her, the bracelet remains within. The crew walks through the illusion and frees Edgen. After he is cornered by another monster, they manage to escape the maze. After some more running, and cages are waiting to transport them to the following difficulty, Doric gains insight from Edgen's observation that they must flee rather than advance. After the first task, she forces them to jump inside the gelatinous cube, which is then removed. Doric changes into a snake to flee, and then drags everyone with him. They find the equipment and several keys to get Simon out of the bracelet. After running through a tunnel, the crew enters another tunnel to reach the pier, where they kill all the guards, and discover the boat containing the treasure and tablet. The tablet is used to support their claims. When Forge and Kira arrive, when Kira finally accepted their claims, Forge had to threaten her with a knife. In order to get the other characters to back off, Holga takes a potato and throws it in Forge's face, forcing him to let go and stop talking like a stupid bad guy. While Kira is being held captive, she joins the group as they board a boat to go. Simon casting a spell to hit Forge with a wave of water. Kira pardons Edgen as they come together again. In the meantime, Sofina is using the horn to launch her strategy. She persuaded Forge to carry out the games, and force everyone to stay for a present, so she could use them all to create a new army of the undead. The squad decides to come and save the day. After spotting a dark cloud gathering above the city, Edging devises a scheme, in which Simon builds a gateway aboard the ship, and attaches it to a huge balloon over the Colosseum. While Sofina begins casting the spell on the gambling lords, all of the gaming workers start, after the balloon to get some gold, as the riches start to fall through the portal, rescuing them from Sofina's magic. When the squad meets Sofina, who is attacking them with a fire spell, Edgin instructs Kira to conceal herself with her necklace. Doric changes into an owl bear and rushes on Sofina, who pulls her away, and uses her power to trigger a dragon statue. After Simon shields them with a shield, the group attacks it with all of their skills, but nothing can harm Stone. When Doric realizes she must attack Sofina, the dragon is about to eat Edgin. When the dragon magic is effectively broken, Sofina then encloses Holga and Edgin in a sphere, before conjuring a massive hand to pursue Doric, but a self-assured Simon conjures his own hand to strike back. Despite the sphere collapsing and cracking, Sofina still prevails and destroys it. The group doesn't give up and keeps attacking Sofina non-stop, until she casts the time-freezing spell, at which point they stop. Sofina starts to celebrate her victory, but then everyone starts to move, because this was their original plan. When Sofina turns to her side, she sees that an indistinct Kira placed the bracelet on her wrist, in order to interfere with her powers. Then Doric transforms into an owl bear, and brutally beats Sofina till she dies. In the midst of the team's victory celebration, they discover that Holga was fatally wounded during the battle and passes away. Edgin chooses to use the tablet to resuscitate Holga, after realizing that she was the closest thing Kira had to a mother. When she was a child, as he watches Kira grieve over her, Forge tries to flee with some gold, while the squad joins in the celebrations, but he is caught by Zank. After Sophia's power is extinguished, the original City Lord awakens, and grants the heroes medals for preserving Neverwinter. Forge is incarcerated and tries to petition for his release, by outlining his own terrible past, but the council is unimpressed. In a desperate attempt to escape, Forge locates the bird monster and tries to fly away as well, but the council made care to shut all windows, so Forge simply runs into a wall. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.